Hey YouTube, how's it going? Lawler here as always. We are officially one open through every single region. Every single individual place has competed. And with that, I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different this season, which is an official power ranking list. While we can have a general assessment of how we think people are doing based upon the eye test, I think this is a good way for us to not only talk openly about how we feel about the teams, but also give you guys something to pay attention to or expectations to set towards certain teams when it comes to the next regional. So in between every regional, so we're going to do 2 weeks of competition. In the in-between for those weeks, I'm then going to take, based upon my assessment of how everybody did an open 1, we'll do a power rank. Based on everybody does an open 2, we'll then do another power ranking. We'll do that, and then obviously we'll try to do one before the majors as well. So we have a fun little top 10 list with an honorable mention that we're going to be showing to you guys today. If you guys haven't seen me do these before, a couple things, obviously we do them pretty frequently. We try to list them out, we try to color it and give you guys how everything applies. The other side of this is the way that I do power rankings is a couple different categories. First things first, I try to be objective about results. If you're winning stuff, to me, that is the end all to be all. If you won an event, no matter how you got there, ups, downs, whatever, you won, you found a way to win. That is the whole purpose of the event. You have the ability to struggle, you have the ability to show faults. But if you still find a way to win, if anything, I give more credit to that because that shows resiliency, that shows adversity. It shows that you can handle the pressure. Second thing is my power rankings are the intentions of how I think things are going to do for the next time. So while this is after Open 1 results, my assumption in this list is based on how I assume they will do when it comes to the second Open and the third Open. So that is kind of my perspective on these. Everything is kind of going to be mixed around, and I'll try to provide some insight, but ultimately I know that everybody's going to have their own opinions, and you're all justified in your opinions for the most part. Some of you are absolutely crazy and just a bunch of memers. So with that said, first things first, we're going to talk about our honorable mention, which we have is actually 2 teams, Complexity and Team Secret. Now understand this is an international power ranking, and many people are like, Lawler, Complexity is clearly like a top 4 in North America. How do you have them all the way outside of the top 10? And I say, hey, there's a lot of really good teams and from a lot of different regions, so we're going to show our respects accordingly. But for Complexity in particular, my concern, especially when you compare them to the international level, while yes, they are competitive, while yes, they give you a base level of competition, my concern with Complexity is always going to be their skill ceiling. I don't know if they have it within themselves at the current state of things in this split to push ahead and leap ahead some of these more powerhouse heavy teams within only their own region in North America, but also internationally. I don't see them when it comes to like a top 8 match or a top 4 match having enough to push them over that barrier to put them in that next tier. And the same thing applies to Team Secret because I've seen this historically with them. While I do think KVO and Mota and the guys now with Swift are very, very talented, and this is the closest we've seen somebody fight with Furia, I think a lot of this, as you guys have heard me say in other videos, also has to apply to the fact that these teams are new. A lot of teams have not been exposed yet to what they look like in a competitive environment. Sure, scrims give you a general understanding, but I'm telling you right now, teams do not play the same way in scrims as they do when it is competitive on the line. Part of a problem, but again, when there's pressure and stuff on, people play differently. Are they going to be as demo heavy? Are they going to be as chasey? Are they going to be as mechanical? Or are they going to regress a little bit and be a little bit more conservative? That's what this first regional. Out of the gate, this is the, like Space Station, I think is the biggest one we can kind of harp in on this. Space Station came in as an anomaly. What are they going to look like with structure, with the coach, with support, mental? How are they going to perform? Turns out they're very, very demo heavy. Is that something that teams can adjust to in 2 weeks' time and be more prepared for? So is Space Station going to perform at that same level? We'll have to wait and see my opinion as we get further up this list. Spoiler alert, Space Station is in it. Outside of that, Team Secret, again, I think they've been competitive. I think they've been good, but do they have enough within them to go and compete and overtake the teams outside of Furia? With like, if Team Secret starts winning regionals, to me, that's a very telling statement because Furia to me is 100% capable of making top 4s. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm very, very interested to keep my eyes on these teams. Complexity's been consistent, but haven't had their peaks. As Diaz gets more reps within North America, maybe they see that ascendancy. We'll have to wait and see. At number 10, it is going to be Wildcard. This team, I think, is going to be the permanent number 10 for me. unless something changes in OCE. If you guys do not know Wildcard, this is the former New Jeans roster, if I remember correctly, their previous team. This is Fever, Torsauce, and Banana Head. Fever and Torsauce, I think, have kind of figured out what it is their identity is supposed to be with Banana Head, as Banana Head is kind of their hard carry. Torsauce will find a way to make majors. He'll find a way to make worlds. He's been doing it for a really long time. I think the only person who's beat him out on that statement is JNaps. And JNaps didn't even make top 16 this last time. So pretty crazy to see Torsauce have the consistency that he has. But he is, despite imports coming in and people coming in and bringing in imports to OCE rosters like Razier's, Wildcard still, full OCE, stays on top. I think there's a reason for that. So a lot of credit to Wildcard. To me, their goal is getting into the top 8. And even though there has been certain sentiments and certain statements, it is, to me, 1000% a mentality thing. Wildcard and the rest of OC has plenty of mechanical talent. Yeah, playstyle wise, sometimes they do some really dumb stuff and they throw possession away too much and they just play stupid. In the wise words of beast mode, they're not bad, they're just dumb, or they're just stupid. Wildcard is the epitome of that. And when they finally, and KCP and others at Worlds got upsets over Gen G and stuff, it feels like a flip was switched to where we're no longer playing against our idols and the guys we look up to, and we are no longer satisfied with top 8. Because there was tweets that came out being like, hey man, we're satisfied with top 8, we're happy, this is a good result for us. And I go, but isn't your goal to win the whole thing? Why are you satisfied with top 8? If I'm a competitor, I'm gonna be pissed that I got top 8. No matter where I'm coming from, I know I'm good enough, I know I'm better than most people, and I believe that, and I'm gonna show that. The fact that we can go toe-to-toe with you this many times proves that. So now that they've finally obtained wins over high-profile names, I'm hoping that that switches gears and they start to believe that they can actually go and compete in an international stage. But part of the reason for the mentality and the losses is because that's what they think. They think, hey man, we made top 8, that's good for us. They should not be satisfied by that. It should fuel them and motivate them to work harder. I'm hoping Wildcard finally breaks into the top 8. I'm really rooting for it. I very much so enjoy a lot of the guys over there. Next, over in the MENA region, we've got Twisted Minds. Very fun team to watch. They have been an import team. Obviously, Naopo's very, very talented, and they're bringing in Rise and Atomic. As time progresses, I could see this team getting better, but I think already out of the gate, they have proven that they can be competitive. They did take down Falcons in the uppers in a best of 5. They did concede in the grand finals in a best of 7. But the fact that teams are taking wins off of Falcons, I think, needs to be commended, because Falcons to me is a very, very good team. One of the more consistent teams until they get to the grand finals, which in that itself is consistency when they lose. With that said, Twisted Minds, I think this team has potential. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet on the international competition stage, but I do know they have a lot of experience. The weakest link on their team is Atomic, if I had to say anything. And I very much so think Atomic has never been really provided a true opportunity to showcase his talents. So we'll see what this team turns into. Very interested to watch. Up next, one that people may be upset based on their most recent performance, and hopefully this shows that I'm not super biased. But this one has to go with Space Station. I just don't have enough info on them yet. I think this team still has so much polish to happen. Going back to my original conversation that I had during honorable mentions, they got the lucky opportunity to basically showcase to everybody, like, hey, you're not familiar with how we play because we've been grinding this offseason. We have a coach. We've been doing a lot of things. But when it comes to competition days, we are going to be a lot more aggressive than people expect. We are going to be assertive. We are going to go for demos. We are going to open up opportunities. And even when we're on our back line, Scribbles can hit a double flip reset on your head and score. Team's got so much potential. It's exactly why Space Station picked them up, and they're hoping that Diamond in the Rough really grows and ascends. Ironically, just like they did with their original roster. Back when Arsenal was a rookie. Back when it was with Sathu. Back when it was AXB. This is like Gen 2 of Space Station and Rocket League. I'm very happy. If you guys don't know, I'm very close with the Space Station guys. Love Unit and the rest of the dudes over there. I am wishing for nothing but their success. Consider me a Space Station stan. I'm very excited to see how this team progresses. But I do have some reservation now that teams have been exposed to their playstyle in competitive environment. I could see them potentially regress a little bit. For me, still a top 3 in North America currently. Very excited to watch Space Station's growth and development. Number 7, this one I had a little bit hard time picking out where I wanted to put them, but it's Furia. I think it's difficult for me to heavily rate teams that haven't made changes when everybody else you're seeing improvement out of. Furia also showing that they can bleed. I did go back and watch that grand final series, and by all means, Furia is the better team over Secret, but definitely still a lot of flaws. Not even like a regression, but more of just like, I haven't seen like a leveling up of the team. Because when it came to Worlds, when it came to Majors, last year, Furia to me was definitely a top 4, top 5. I think they were fully capable, and I still think they are. I think any team, again, if you want to take just general rankings of how things work, you're trying to fight for being consistent top 6. And I think Furia has a 100% chance of, they can go perfect in Swiss, guarantee a top 6 result, and then lose, and then, hey, they're top 6. They made it in the hybrid bracket. I could also see them going 3-1 and missing out on that, going top 8, and then their first opponent in the like 7-8 rank or the 6-5 rank is a tough matchup. So we'll see. Furia to me, I got to see more convincing results to see where things are going. Up next at number 6, and I'm still uncertain completely, but it's the Ultimates. Just gonna put it out there, this team, I'm worried about when it's gonna implode. While I trust in Sad Jr. and his expertise, I look at this team and I go, hey, what happens when you face adversity? What happens when you guys have an off result? What happens when the guys are like, hey, we've made a major, we get a little complacent? Are you going to be able to continue to motivate them and make them perform? There is a culprit on the team that we're all aware of that historically has never won the big moment. And last year, to me, showcased the difficulty of working with someone that has had this kind of environment surrounding them. And it worries me. The talent is there. This team is chocked full of talent. LJ should be next man up. Chronic, by all means, has not been able to showcase his merits because he was in a role that he could never really be successful in. If you guys weren't familiar with the Genji playstyle, Chronic was doing something that he naturally hates doing. Maybe we get to see some of this showcased out. There's too much overlap in some of the things, and if First Killer wants to continue to play Feed Me the Rock, I'm very interested to see what this team develops into. I'm very interested to see what kind of system or what kind of theme this team has. But I, for one, am not personally sold on it yet. And I actually have more overarching concerns as the season progresses. I am hoping that, like I predicted, they're going to come out of the gate swinging. They're going to be just purely on talent, a team that you have to pay attention to as a 1-2 in NA. But as the season progresses, people kind of figure out what they're bringing to the table. Will they be able to stay at that level? I think they're for sure a top 4 team in NA, and that's not going to change. But where they end up in that, we'll have to wait and see. Number 5, and I might get some flack for this one, but I don't care. This is my heart of hearts. This is something I believe in. It's Ninjas in Pajamas. I think this team, like, first showing as a team, minimal time playing together outside of some practices and stuff during the offseason. And if we just kind of comb through the results, and I know I'm trying to bias and convince you guys on this process. They went 3-0 in Swiss against RRG, which is another top 16 team, against the big boys, whoever that is, and against Save the Game, another top 8 team. They then, in their group, beat Ascend, had a very tough fight against Vitality. Sure, they got swept, but it was all 1-goal games with an OT in there. So they went to OT and 1-goal games in an OT in every game against Vitality. They dropped to lowers. They beat Caliente. They beat RRG again, and they make your top 8. In their first match against top 8, they, in my opinion, beat a top 8, top 6 team in GK convincingly. 2 OTs. It was actually a pretty good fight. They then upset Gentlemates in Game 7, which I called, by the way. And then they go up against who I consider one of the best teams in the world in Ninjas in K-Corp, and still put up a pretty good fight. 2-1, 2-0, 2-0, 3-2, 3-0. So NIP to me has shown that they can be competitive, and this is their first time together with someone who I think in NAS is going to be next guy up. To me, NAS is Drawley of last year. I think this team is going to be something special. And I've been saying it for a while. I think this team is so incredibly good, and what's not to like. People dogged on me for being like, yeah, Oski to me is like a top 5 offensive talent in Europe. I think Oski is absolutely cracked. Itachi is so good in the midfield, and Nas, with confidence, if he doesn't overcommit and he doesn't play hero ball, NIP is going to be absolutely... I think they're the 3rd ranked team in EU. I think they're so good. and they're just getting started. I think this team is basically, instead of Nas, it's Drawley last year, and he's only going to get better, as we saw with BDS. And you saw what happened with Drawley and BDS. Watch out for NIP. They're going to be scary. That is my prediction. That's how I feel. Up next, enough glazing of ninjas in pajamas. We're going to go on over to the MENA region, and you guys should be able to tell it's Falcons. I think Falcons, rightfully so, has earned their place as a consistent top 4. No changes, which I think definitely has some benefits at time, and I know that may be a little bit inconsistent with what I was saying previously, but I think it's tough to make changes when you have what is arguably the 3 best players in your region. I think the Twins are absolutely incredible. Obviously, they pair really well together. They all have their pop-off moments. Rawas usually gets a little bit more love than Clears, but take with that what you will. And I personally believe that TRK is the best player in MENA. He's so good. I don't foresee that changing. Falcons, while they show that they can bleed, I would very much so like to see how this plays out. I'm very, very interested to see how Falcons does this year, because people have expectations of you now. People know what you're bringing to the table. People know exactly what you want to do. It is up to Falcons to build, grow, adjust, and change. You got to stay ahead. It is one of the reasons why I commend that OG Chiefs team back in the day with Drippe. The difficulty is when you're at the top of a region, everybody is trying to build to beat you. The strategy is out there, and you have to stay one step ahead without any other outside stuff. So, sure, maybe Falcons is competing and scrimming against some of these guys in the top. Maybe they're competing against some of the EU teams, and they are being exposed by them, and they are recognizing some of those things that they can change and adjust. That is the big benefit to being in MENA, is the ability to scrim other EU teams, albeit a little bit higher ping, and bring that back to their own region and continue to stay one step ahead. Very interested to watch how Falcons develops this year. At number 3, it's got to be NRG. Let's cut the chase. NRG is the most consistent team from last year. If you guys don't remember G2, the worst they performed through the entire year is second. Every major, every online event, every world championship, there's only one. It's second place. No matter the adversity, and I can say this too, G2 at world championship, I was not impressed by. G2 looked faulty. I called it. You can ask anybody that I got to talk and interact with at Worlds. I called BDS winning on Friday. I'm like, they look incredible. They're not going to lose. And they're like, yeah, but I'm here for G2. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. And they're like, Lawler, you're hurting me here, man. I'm in NA. I'm able to watch the rematch. And I'm like, and the same thing's going to happen. When we opened up this regional, while Sathu, being the GOAT coach he is, takes it all on him. He's like, we weren't properly prepared. That's on me, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, I'm like, Energy looks complacent. They don't look that great. They're losing matches they shouldn't be, but they will find a way to win. So as I said, hey, the guys are going to have some faltering. They're going to get a kick in the butt. They're going to wake up, and then they're going to perform. And lo and behold, they won. I'm not surprised by this. While, yes, they were pushed to their limits, and that's all the credit in the world to me, to Space Station, not NRG. I think Energy, at the end of the day, has the talent. They have everything they could ever want. If they put in the work and they grind, no one in the region can beat them. That's a lot of expectation, but Energy is a world championship caliber team. Can they do it when it matters most? That's all that matters. The only thing that is stopping this Energy roster is themselves. NA is theirs to take. They should be the first seed throughout the entire year. I would not be surprised by that. And that is a lot of expectation, a lot of difficulty. But with that level of talent, that's just the way that it goes. They lived up to that expectation last year. They have to do it again this year. That is why they're being paid what they are. But when it comes to majors, when it comes to world championships, looking way far ahead in the future, can they show up with the intensity that they need to make sure they don't do it from behind? It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. Last but not least in these last two, this one I think is pretty straightforward. And I'm just going to reveal them both at the same time. I clicked the wrong thing anyway. It's K-Corp and Vitality. It's tough for me to put Vitality above K-Corp. I think on paper, a lot of people saw this Vitality roster and said, man, Zen and Monkey Moon on the same team, myself included. How on earth did we allow this to happen? Looking at the two results, Vitality out of the gate lost to Fast Forward. Then Fast Forward doesn't make top 16. Vitality finds themselves in the grand finals, and they take down everybody in their path. They don't drop to lowers. They beat Redemption. They beat NIP, a team I'm very keen on. They beat Dignitas. They beat Gentlemates. They beat 100%, which should have been a rematch with Dignitas, in my opinion. That's more of a falter on Dignitas. And then they put up a fight against KC, but it is a sweep. 3-2 OT, 3-0 timeout, 3-2 OT again, 4-0. Vitality just needs some time. The mechanics are there. The offensive pressure is there. The control, the suffocation, it's all there. Vitality has it. But something about KC is just clicking right now, man. There is a familiarity in their play style. There is a chemistry that is just natural. And I'm sure they feel very, very happy about it. I think there is something to be said about Drawley coming into that roster with a Tau. I think it has made a Tau a better player. I think Vatira is finally starting to get back to his former self, because I'm going to be perfectly clear. I don't think Vatira's been that great in the last 6 months. I don't think he's been that guy that was like, I'm going to put out a novel about why I'm going to grind harder than I've ever grinded before. I just haven't felt it in his play. And I think that changed a little bit. I think we finally got to see a Vatira like slotting into that level of comfort again, and K-Corp becoming a three-headed monster. So I'm very, very excited to watch this team develop and this team develop. I think we are far from over from saying who's going to be at the top of the region, K-Corp and Vitality. I'm very interested to see who's going to be the number 1 seed coming out of EU, because I think it's very telling, but I'm going to be perfectly candid with you all. Here's EU. Here's NRG. Here's the rest of NA. NA's in for a world of hurt again this year. We've got a team that I think can go and compete, and I'm hoping we get maybe 1 or 2 outside of that. But I would assume we get NRG, we get Ultimates. But in the current state of things, based upon my eye test, K-Corp and Vitality would absolutely dumpster on North America, and it's not even close. That's kind of where I'm at. That's what I've got for my top 10 official power rankings. We'll be doing these every 2 weeks. I hope you guys like a little bit more of the longer format and a little bit more of a open conversation type discussion, rather than like bullet point, and just getting through it as quickly as I can. Hopefully it was something that you enjoyed over your breakfast or whatever you're doing in the morning. But that is going to do today's video. Again, if you guys enjoy the content, expect these power ranking stuff every 2 weeks. If you guys would like changes or adjustments, or if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, notifications. We'll check you in the next one. Peace.